Hey there, race fans, it's race day. Top 5 with me, Frank 5. Road course racing at its best. Twists and turns, exciting action, a lot of chaos. It was supposed to be at Watkins Glen. Unfortunately, this year, because of everything, it didn't happen. Instead, NASCAR went road course racing somewhere else, something new. They went to Daytona, the world center of racing, for the first ever Daytona Road Course race to replace Watkins Glen until it comes back next year, and it provided an exciting race with a lot of questions about how everybody was going to handle this race without any practice or qualifying, but it was an exciting race, and one of the best road course racers came out on top, regaining some momentum before the playoffs. Number 1, Chase Elliott. Yeah, baby! Back on top, second win of the season. Chase Elliott today captured the GoBowling 235 at Daytona Road Course, winning it over Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Jimmy Johnson, and Chris Buescher at the top 5. Really good race for Chase Elliott. He needed this. He hadn't won a points race since May at the second Charlotte race that they had. He did win a couple weeks ago at Bristol in the All-Star race, but that wasn't a points-paying race. And the last couple of weeks, the last 3 races, they started to get back into some top 10 finishes after a couple of races where they weren't getting top 10s at all, which kind of was killing the momentum. They got some nice top 10s the last couple of weeks, though they said at Michigan, despite top 10 results, they weren't really pleased with their performance, and they need to come into Daytona with some little boost of confidence. And of course, the last time we were on a road course, which was the Charlotte Roval, Chase Elliott was the winner after he stuffed it in the barrier literally right in front of me while I was there watching the race, and everybody that watched it on television didn't have the race. Today, he was mistake-free all day long. A strong car, started in the 7th position, but quickly drove straight to the top 3. Already, you could tell he had one of the best cars. Won stage 1, played out the strategy well. It didn't really make a whole lot of adjustments to it. I mean, he adjusted the car himself if he needed it. He beat the heat. He beat a little weather delay that we had because there was some lightning in the area. Daytona in August and July, you're going to get these pop-up showers and lightning strikes, and there's nothing you could do about it. You just got to play the waiting game until they can get it back going. But Chase Elliott didn't put a foot wrong today. He just absolutely nailed this race. His second win of the season, his fourth win on a road course. And it built some momentum. He built some playoff points as we get to the playoffs, which is only a couple of weeks away, folks. It's literally 3 or 4 weeks away. So time's ticking for a lot of drivers to obviously get momentum, and Chase Elliott needs to get his momentum going so he could be, establish himself as a playoff contender, and the win today definitely helped it, and it also helped him for the Roval in about 2 months, which I cannot wait, and I will also be there for that. But Chase Elliott, a great win today, his first win actually at Daytona. I mean, it may not be the super speedway in general, which we will be back there in a couple of weeks for it, but still, winning at Daytona on a road course, the first ever Daytona road course, I'll take it any way possible. So happy, so stoked. We're back on top, and we've got momentum on our side. Number 2, Denny Hamlin, obviously one of the top 3 guys this year in NASCAR with Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski. He had a really good card today, too. Not on the standard, though, as Chase Elliott. Though the last couple laps on the late race restart, he was kind of close to Elliott's bumper and kind of was putting a little bit of heat on him, even though Elliott didn't make any mistakes. Hamlin put a little heat on him the best he possibly could. And these guys have had their past with 2017 Martinsville incident. They had an incident in 2018 in Phoenix, and they had another incident again in 2019 in Phoenix. But there's been times where Chase Elliott and Hamlin have raced each other respectively fair and aggressive, obviously. Those other 3 times, obviously, you eliminate those, and they didn't end well for Elliott, obviously. And, Hamlin paid the price for some of those events. But Denny Hamlin had a great car again today, rating pretty much in the top 5 all day long, obviously. Lately, Kevin Harvick has had a lot of momentum on his side, winning a lot of the races, but Denny Hamlin has also had momentum on his side as well. A second-place finish today, it may not be a win, but it still boosts confidence considering you finish 15 spots ahead of Kevin Harvick, who kind of had an off day here at the road course at Daytona. But again, Denny Hamlin, another solid performance for him and the whole FedEx team. Number 3, Martin Truex Jr., obviously the one win this season that he has in Martinsville. He also, like Chase Elliott and even Denny Hamlin, have been one of the top road course racers the last couple years that we've done road course racing in NASCAR. And Truex was perhaps the second best car today. And at times he looked to be the best car. But in the middle of the race, in stage 2, when he was making green flag pit stops, he got caught for speeding and he had to be put in the tail on the longest line and had to bow his way back, and obviously got 3rd place at the end as a good result. Obviously, I'm still wondering, is Martin Truex Jr. a championship contender this year with the one win? He only has one win this season. And it's, by the way, with a new crew chief and James Small, because Colburn retired from NASCAR crew chiefing at the end of last season. So it's still a learning process for Truex and his crew chief, but they seem to be hitting some good results lately. And if they can carry that over into their second win of the season, then Martin Truex Jr., like Chase Elliott today, will gain some momentum and possibly throw his hat in the ring as a contender to possibly be in the championship 4 when we go to Phoenix in November. Number 4, Kyle Busch. Boy, he just wants to forget 2020, doesn't he? He, in the early portion of the race with Elliott and Truex and Hamlin, had a solid race car, but ultimately he had a flat tire early on. He flat spotted the tires, had to pit. He caught back up. Then he had another tire go down. He accidentally missed the pits. He actually missed the bus stop chicane on the front stretch at Daytona's, chicane that they added for this race in particular, and that ultimately broke the rear HUD. It was literally burning, so they went back to the garage. They fixed it and got back out there to run the rest of the laps, and then he set up the last restart of the race by cutting the tires down in turn 2 of the Daytona Oval, obviously, the portion of it, and he hit the wall, and ultimately that called it a day. I mean, he's still in the playoffs at about 90-plus points, but still, I'm a little concerned. Kyle Busch, I don't know if he may make the playoffs. We don't know. He keeps having more bad races, losing points, and other guys start winning. Kyle Busch could be out, although I don't think that's going to happen based on how many races we have left and how many spots are available and how many positions he's ahead of those guys. He should be fine to make it, but I don't feel good about his chances to make the championship 4 or get up around to 16. That's how bad this year's been for Kyle Busch. It's just been an off year. They have to find that rabbit's foot, or else they're not going to make a run at this championship this year. And number 5, the road course race that we had today to replace Watkins Glen. This was a little bit interesting. No practice, no qualifying, so nobody got the chance to see what the track was like, except some of the big teams. They got to go to the simulators for Chevy, Toyota, and Ford. Some of the other guys, the lower funded guys, they couldn't because they either don't have the money for a simulator or they don't have the money to do it whatsoever. So this was a little bit interesting. We watched the Xfinity race yesterday, and we watched the truck race earlier today, and they had a lot of chaos in the restarts. Cup guys, though, they all were very orderly and did a good job with the braking zones and going into those corners with no practice and qualifying whatsoever. A lot of guys, there were a couple mistakes in between the race, like guys like Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Christopher Bell, a lot of those guys. But everybody, for the most part today, there wasn't really a serious incident other than the Kyle Busch crash. Everything was fine with a lot of drivers today. They seemed to get it right today. They all took care of the cars. They didn't really put a foot wrong. There were a couple times that happened, but other than that, it wasn't really serious. Everybody did a good job today, and it was a fairly exciting race and an interesting race. This is a new configuration of racing at Daytona for us, and the big question possibly after this, will we see this Daytona Road Course on the schedule in 2021? The 2021 schedule has not been released yet, folks, so possibly thinking, we may have a Daytona Road Course on our hands next year. Only time will tell. It's all about what Steve Phelps, and Steve O'Donnell and the entire NASCAR organization. It's up to them on whether or not they want to put it on the schedule or possibly replace the summer Daytona night race. I kind of hope that doesn't happen because I love that race and a lot of other people do too. So that is that. Also, I have to quickly mention Austin Dillon already locked in the playoffs on his win at Texas. He was not in the race today because on yesterday, he tested positive for COVID-19, and he had to sit out this race and put Kaz Grala, making his Cup debut in this race, in the car. And Kaz Grala got a top 10, 9th place. For your first Cup start with no practice in qualifying, I call that a win for Kaz Grala, and possibly gain some attention to possibly get himself a full-time ride maybe in the Xfinity Series next year for Richard Childress, and possibly a part-time Cup schedule next year. We shall see. It all comes down to, obviously, sponsorship and sponsorship money. It all comes down to that, and whether or not Richard Childress has the resources to build a third team to go part-timing next year. But Kaz Grala did a good job. Austin Dillon has to have 2 negative tests within a span of 24 hours this week if he wants to be participating in the upcoming 2 races that we're having next weekend. So Austin, prayers to you, your wife Whitney, and your new baby boy. I hope you are all healthy, and I hope you're able to be at the track this upcoming weekend. So this upcoming weekend, the Monster Mile, a Dover doubleheader. 2 Dover races this upcoming weekend, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. And a big name has a chance to possibly win one of these 2 races to get himself in the playoffs. And we all know who that is, the King of Dover and Jimmy Johnson, who had a nice 4th place finish today. Didn't really get a whole lot of points on his teammate William Byron, but still a good result. The big question is obviously, can he win one of these races at this track where he's been successful in the past? Will the package and the cars work for him this upcoming weekend? We shall see. Will Jimmy Johnson possibly punch his ticket this upcoming weekend into the playoffs? We're going to see. We cannot wait to see and see what happens in all of the action at the Monster Mile this weekend. And the other question is, can Kyle Busch just find a lucky charm, because he needs one right now if he wants to be a contender for this championship. So it'll be very interesting what happens. Cannot wait for a doubleheader at Dover. Also, a quick point I need to make, next Sunday also, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, pushing it back later this year, we're going to have the Indianapolis 500 in August, and I'll give a little recap of that race at the end as well. I'm going to watch it. It's going to be so much fun to watch despite no fans. I'm excited for that race. Everybody loves Indy 500. It should be a fun event regardless, and hopefully next year they'll have fans back in the stands. So we also had fans back in the stands for the Daytona Road Course today, and I hope they got their money's worth watching this race. It was a very good one. So we shall see what happens this upcoming weekend at Dover. So in the meantime, subscribe, like, congrats to Chase Elliott, all of Elliott Nation. Ring the siren. We're going to party all night, and we're going to carry it on next weekend to one of his other best tracks in Dover. And until then, have a good night.